Hi, and welcome to Filled with His Love, Strengthening Attachment Relationships. It's great to have you with us today. So, today we want to talk about charity and how it envieth not, as it says in Moroni. The Lord often teaches with opposites. You'll notice this in the scriptures quite often. It's kind of like we're taught that charity is the pure love of Christ. That's the positive side. The negative side is, let me teach you what it is not. And so he's teaching us that envy or covetousness is the absolute opposite of love. Now, we might think that hate is the opposite of love, but in some ways, this envy or this covetousness underlies hate. It underlies all the kind of opposite things that we might relate to love. So, lots of examples in the scriptures, Cain and Abel, of course, and the prodigal son. So Cain envied Abel and eventually killed him. The prodigal son's story, of course, is very powerful. It's quite easy for us to relate to because you've got the younger brother, older brother. The very faithful older brother feels somewhat resentful when the young brother comes back and gets all this celebration. So this quote, I think, is very illustrative of the older brother's problem. This is what it says in Luke 15. But he was angry and refused to go in. His father came out and entreated him, saying, "Come on, let's get with the party here." But he answered his father, "Look, these many years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat that I might celebrate with my friends." So he was envious of his younger brother getting all this positive attention when he had been so faithful so long. So, of course, he was not full of charity at the time. He was not full of his love. Now, this statement from Elder Oaks several years ago, and I'm taking a very short statement out of a longer talk, but I think it's essential to understand this. He said, the sin is in the desire or the motive, not in the act. In other words, it was this envious desire, this envious emotion, this covetous emotion or whatever that underlay the response of the older brother and the prodigal son that was really the problem. His actual words spoken, were not as nearly as important as this underlying emotion that drove him to speak the way he did. So, to feel, this is a definition that I found in the Oxford English Dictionary, and it kind of actually surprised me a little bit. It says, envy is to feel displeasure and ill will toward another person. In other words, you actually kind of want to hurt them, like Cain wanted to kill Abel. The older son in the prodigal son story had ill will toward his son. He didn't just kind of wish he could be celebrated like his younger brother, but he also had this ill will toward him. That's why envy is such a difficult problem and one that we have to avoid so much. Here's another definition. This one I got from Neil Burton in The Psychology and Philosophy of Envy. It's frankly quite fascinating to me. Listen to this. It takes a little minute to kind of unpack this, but envy derives from the Latin invida, non-sight. Okay? So it's that we can't see. In Dante's Divine Comedy, the envious labor under cloaks of lead, their eyes sewn tight with leaden wire. Picture this. Your eyes are tightly sewn together so you can't see anything with leaden wire, suggesting that envy arises from our leads to, suggesting that envy arises from our leads to a form of blindness. Got that a little mixed up. Let me say that again. So our eyelids are sewn tightly shut, suggesting that envy arises from or leads to a form of blindness. So it can either, our blindness can come from envy. In other words, the prodigal son couldn't see his younger brother clearly anymore. He was kind of blinded to him. But his blindness also kind of led to his envy, his unwillingness to relate and celebrate with his younger brother. Very interesting image, I think, of having our eyes wired tightly shut by envy. Now in Proverbs it says, "Rejoice not when thine enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth." I picture the Olympics and somebody falling on the track as they're running the race, and the person next to them saying, "Oh great, now I can win the race." Or we have seen sometimes in the Olympics where the person falls and the other person forsakes his right to win by stopping and helping the person up. That's the kind of the contrast between envy and charity. Now here's another part of the definition of envy. It's like to treat a person grudgingly. This again comes from Oxford English Dictionary. So you kind of hold a grudge against somebody. You begrudge someone for what they have, who they are, their talents, their abilities, their looks, whatever, and that's a problem. And in Moroni, I've always, this verse has always grabbed me quite tightly, actually. It's kind of like, I think about it with tithing, for example. If someone pays their tithing grudgingly, it is almost better not to have paid it at all. The verse says, "For behold, if a man being evil giveth a gift, he doeth it grudgingly. Wherefore it is counted unto him the same as if he had retained the gift. Wherefore he is counted evil before God." It's actually better to have not given the gift. So if we have grudges towards somebody because of their looks, their money, their talents, their wealth, their house, their possessions, anything it might be, this is a problem and kind of keeps us from having the kind of love that the Lord has commanded us to have for our neighbor. Sometimes we covet possessions. I always joke with my wife that I've always coveted having a Porsche. When I was younger and teenager, my dad sold Porsches and had Porsches in the driveway sometimes, and I got to drive them sometimes, and I quite enjoyed that. So, but right now it's different. I don't think I would take the car. I mean, I think I would sell it if I got it. It's way too much money for transportation. Now, here's another problem with envy. There's been a lot written in recent times about body envy and social media. Elder Maxwell gave a talk one time when he said we ought to watch out for body envy. This was before social media ever existed, and so he was way ahead of his time. When we look at somebody else's physique and we say, and this can happen to males or females, we can look at them and say, wow, that would be nice to have a body that looked like that. And this is body envy. And now with social media, it has become somewhat of an epidemic. So here's a quote: "Using Instagram makes body image issues worse for 1 in 3 girls." That's a third of all girls who use Instagram have body image issues because of seeing all these kind of unreal bodies in pictures as they go through Instagram. Another study showed that more than 40% of Instagram users said they felt unattractive and that the feeling began while using the app. Not a good read for Instagram. And Instagram can be used very positively in positive ways. I'm not saying we have to cut out this app, but we have to be very careful at how we post and how we react to other people's images that they put on Instagram. And of course, things can get way worse. Pornography, of course, envy, and lust lead to pornography. So you've got envy, covetousness, and lust. These are such related terms. They all emanate from pride, and the kind of mother or father of all sin. And so lust is obviously a pornography issue. And this quote from Elder Holland, I think, is just a very powerful thought. He says, "Love makes us instinctively reach out to God and other people. Lust, on the other hand, is anything but godly and celebrates self-indulgence. Love comes with open hands and open heart." I really like that. Love comes with open hands and open heart. Lust comes with only an open appetite. appetite. And I might say an insatiable appetite. Lust leads to more lust and just a downward spiral. So we have lust, covetousness, and that, if we think deeply about this, lust and covetousness, envy, they underlie all sins. If you look at all the commandments, lying, cheating, stealing, sexual sin, we lie because we want something that somebody else has. We cheat because we want a better grade. We steal because we want more money. It's envying something that we don't have. Sexual sin obviously comes from this lust or envy of sexual gratification. So all sin really kind of is undergirded by this one thing, envy. So that's why the Lord is teaching us in this scripture in Moroni and in Corinthians, charity envieth not. We don't envy when we have charity. So how do we overcome the issue of envy? Here are 4 simple ideas. First, we rejoice in the success of others. I love the story in Alma where the sons of Mosiah meet their brother, and they've been separated from them, preaching the gospel for years, and they meet up with each other, sounds like somewhat surreptitiously, on the trail. And Alma says, we did joy more in the success of our brothers than we did in our own success. This has always been an aim for me. I want to find joy in others' successes. I want to rejoice with them. I don't want to envy them because they succeeded and I didn't. I want to find even greater joy in their success than I do in my own. Number 2, we build up others. Every chance we get, we give deserved praise, we compliment, we point out to people. I was talking with someone the other day and I said, you know what's happening to you? You are getting closer to God. And he said, actually, I think I am. And I said, look, I'm your interpreter. I'm trying to help you see what's happening to you. And he said, well, thanks. That is what's happening to me, and I didn't recognize it. So we build up others in whatever way we find. We forgive ourselves. This is critical. And we're going to talk more about this in another episode, but we are self-forgiving. We do not hammer down on ourselves every time we make a mistake. We don't envy others because they didn't make the mistake we did. We forgive ourselves and we move forward with faith. And we also, not only do we rejoice in other people's successes, we pray for others' successes. Yesterday we had a visit with a niece of ours who, with her husband, have just been called to be mission leaders in Brazil. A wonderful visit. And I kind of wanted, during the whole visit, to just say, we are rejoicing in your opportunity to serve, and we are praying always for your success. So I guess we could have envied them that they were going into the mission field and having this great experience that we once had as mission leaders. But no, that did not enter in. I just wanted to rejoice in their opportunity and also pray that they would find great success in their service. So I hope this has been helpful. Charity envieth not. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.